Please make sure, as always, you support the Black Stars. And what do you think about the game they are going to play this evening against South Africa as they make sure that they qualify to the next stage of the tournament that is taking place in Equatorial Guinea? And it is the African Cup of Nations 2015. Now, let's get on to our discussions. And before I introduce my guests, I have this paper I didn't review. His editor is in the studio, so please, I've been compelled. This is by compulsion. This is blackmail, but I won't say anything. Then the National Forum, its tagline is, please, Ghana first, boldness, feminist, fairness. Okay, no respect for Ghanaians, NDC. We have Kintampo Roberts arrested, and then you have Adanko wants to know, what is the basis for the claim of a bloated EC register? Why are the appointees of President Mahama creating more problems for him instead of helping him to solve challenges? The third question that Adanko wants to know, what is stopping President Mahama to act swiftly and firmly with appointees, especially those of NDC stock? And the fourth one, does Mr. Kofi Potofe and the NDC not realize that they are belligerent at persons calling for his resignation or dismissal from NADMO is further exposing President Mahama to ridicule as a weak leader? And then the last one, why must every member of the NDC Functional Executive Committee, FEC, necessarily sit on, or committee, and FEC sit on one board or the other? Okay, I get the point. All right. I guess all the parties have been doing it from MPP to NDC, so I don't know whether...
Sure, I would love
let me just introduce you first. He's the editor of the paper, but he's with the CPP as well, and Kobna Bonfe is, I guess, he will be in the studio alongside Kamal Dean Abdullah. He is the National Nasara coordinator of the MPP. Thanks for joining me, Kamal.
Thanks, Roland.
All right.
For hosting
I don't know
us.
whether today is going to be a heated debate, because all of them are soft.
I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure.
Soft-spoken people.
Well.
So.
But you see, interestingly, we tend to disagree a lot of times. Myself and
but this AFCO thing, what was it?
Well,
Adanko.
Satirical questions.
Yes,
why is it that you've been on the case of the NDC for a lot of the times I've heard you speak?
The case of the NDC. I don't know.
Do you think we have a bloated register?
Do I think? I don't think so.
Okay.
That's why the question is there.
What is the basis for the claim of a bloated EC register? Who has been asking the question?
Adanko?
No, I mean in the mainstream public discourse.
Whoever is asking or whoever is raising the issues. Adanko just wants to know the basis for the claim. If you call a bloat, you call something a bloat, what it means is that there is the actual and the real, and it is misrepresented in a certain manner, which is resulting in the bloat. So what is the bloated figure, and what is the actual figure, and what is causing the bloat? When you are able to interrogate the subject scientifically that way, we are talking about election matters figures, then we have something to discuss or to debate. Okay? So these are questions that Adanko is just asking, and it's for all of us to ponder on. And I mean, there are other questions that Adanko is asking. Why Potofe, for example, thinks that
we'll talk about
continuous stay.
Just relax. The MPP has always advocated we have a bloated register, and even to the point that your flag bearer is saying we should have re-registration of Ghanaians.
very well. And
to have a complete register.
completely. Very good morning to our viewers out there. Like I told you before we kickstart the show, I did mention that a lot of times I disagree with my brother, Governor Bonfe, even though we all belong to the opposition and all that.
Not a lot of.
A lot of times, I know. He's a very good friend of mine, so we sit together, we do everything together mostly. Truth is that the register is bloated. We've done some amount of work on this particular register. We had cause to commission a committee, okay, at the party's meeting, NEC level, National Council level. We got a committee in place to deal with electoral reforms. A committee headed by Dr. Baumia and other members. Indeed, they've done a very good job. they are almost putting finishing touches to whatever they've done, and we are privy to most of the, discussions that has gone in that committee, and we are also informed clearly that the register indeed is problematic. My brother is asking, or Adanko is asking, as he rightly put it, that what are the bases? Frankly, this has to do with figures. As I sit here, I cannot give you in its entirety, the figures or the apt figures that would go to prove or get my brother agree and other people who accept that, yes, indeed, the register is not problematic. Then they would appreciate the fact. First of all, let's take the Volta region, for instance. North Tongue or so. Before or after registration, limited registration, and then before we got to, we held 2012 election, okay? After registration, we realized that the difference between the existing number of voters.
You're talking about, you're using North Tongue
as an example, I'm just as a scenario. The difference between the existing number of voters in the already, register and the new number of voters added, the difference here got about 71% additional number of voters to it. So we are asking, now if you have a constituency like that, and you're only topping up with limited registration, and that alone
you're saying that the number you have, 100%.
Yeah, sure.
The additional, when they did is it top up? Or how do you call it?
Limited registration.
After limited registration, the number that was added was 70% of the 100 that was there.
I was 71% of the 100 that was there.
Hey.
It's highly probable. I'm telling you.
By what basis? You did an assessment?
There are figures. Like I said, I see we are not, that's why the electoral reform discourse that was, boycotted by our general secretaries, okay,
was in perspective,
was supposed to be very important to us. I believe that they would have gone into detail and present some of the figures for us.
But the good thing is the thing is not all the parties agree with you. The point is, what disadvantage or advantage would there be if all the parties agree that they would want another registration exercise to be conducted?
Again, let me add this. Let me just add this before my brother comes in. We've had cause to go to the Supreme Court. To get the Supreme Court tell us that the law in CI 72, which says that you can use NHIS card to register as a voter, is a bad law.
Sure, that one.
Getting the Supreme Court.
Everybody agrees.
Absolutely, and getting the Supreme Court to make a declaration that no, we are not supposed to use NHIS card to register because at the end of the day we may not be able to get a credible register.
There may have been people who registered.
Absolutely, and we are told several thousands, millions of people, rather I should say, use the NHIS card to register. So it means that wrongly we got people registered with the NHIS card.
That's a probability.
Don't you
That's
just
a probability.
No.
It's not a fact.
You think it's a fact.
Yeah, no,
it's a fact that people use.
Not a fact. No. That's a probability.
It is a fact that
could have been or may not have been.
NHIS card
because
to
I know that as far as the registration process is concerned,
it was not better.
And for all that we've all experienced, you have your agents there, and your agents would either raise questions or how do you call it? They'll raise concerns, and you have to fill their processes.
I'm talking pre the declaration by the Supreme Court.
No, I know.
Okay,
we're talking about registration.
No.
And once you are talking about registration.
And the register as we have it now, over 14 million people on that register, we are told. Or close to 14 million.
You don't think 14 million are supposed to be on the register?
Completely. 56% of the population of Ghana
what's your
on
estimate?
The register.
What's your estimate?
56%? Take Kenya, for example. What's the population of Kenya? Okay,
but every population and,
what's the percentage of
and the dynamics of the demographics is different.
Absolutely.
You may have old people, you may have a certain
this particular discourse needs a lot of facts and figures on this to buttress your point. Now, if you don't have the facts and figures completely, you cannot just sit down off head to see this. But the truth is that the register is problematic and is proven to be problematic.
What's your view? What's your party's view on this very subject? Or even your personal view on this very subject? Is it that, well, the register is perceived to be bloated, or you want some level of re-registration altogether?
I don't think we have ever thought or discussed the issue of re-registration. let me say this.
Because that would
And
mean a new register.
I want to caution that election matters are matters of law.
Sure.
Because election itself is a product of law, it's a creature. And so in discussing these matters, we must be discussing it from the point of view of what there is. It is erroneous for anybody to create the impression that somebody was wrongly registered.
You mean it's not
because the person was registered with NHIS.
Yes.
It's not correct.
Because that was lawful.
Please.
Very good.
We did in Ghana. Registrations are done according to the CI 72, which came to replace, I think, CI 46, right? In CI 72, the documents that you can produce to accept, to be accepted to register include national health insurance cards. It was after the registration in 2012 that an application at the Supreme Court that he holds a view that of the documents that should be tendered to prove nationality, national health insurance should not be a part of that.
Very good.
And the Supreme Court accepted that.
Very good.
Anything done prior to this determination by the Supreme Court
Was lawful.
was lawful.
Anyway.
Please. Laws don't work in retrospect. And you know that too well, that it does not work in retrospect. The judgment of the Supreme Court on the National Health Insurance Card does not take effect in retrospect. We are going to have assembly elections. What register are we going to use?
Same register.
You see, and that's why I'm saying that we should be careful, especially political actors. And we go to IPAC. We sit there. We have challenges with our electoral process. We have challenges with our register. Some were even raised by the Electoral Commission itself. 2 weeks to elections in 2012.
There were double registrations and things like that.
Not just that. In fact, it was the issue of suspected minors, where Dr. Aforijan brought us a list, a long list of about 600 or so people across the country whom the commission felt were minors. I think the number is even more than 600. And was appealing to the political parties that, by law, if somebody crawls to the register at the voting center on D-Day with this picture, they cannot stop that person from voting.
So whether you suspected minors or not, once they're in the register.
So they were of the view that if the political parties...
And that was lawful.
Absolutely. Because once the person is registered, has his name, her picture, album, and the, biometric features taken. Once the person got there, Roland, you could no longer stop the person.
There's an interesting point you
And this is the matter of law. That's why I'm saying political parties, especially in this last registration exercise, when the limited registration was done, was there not an exhibition of the register?
There was.
The names that was compiled? Were we not having the opportunity to challenge any names that were in there before a final register has not been presented yet?
Before you come.
If we fail to do all these things. Yes.
So, from what you're saying and your submission, do I deduce from it, you're saying that the political parties in themselves have the responsibility to challenge whatever content that the register has. Do I also get the insight from your submission that you think a call for wholesome compilation of another register is very much unnecessary, that we can work with the current one and sieve it?
We are working with it.
No,
For
I
me,
understand.
if somebody
we're working with it, but they are deep-rooted concerns.
We need,
let's say, the MPP, for example.
Not just the MPP.
Okay.
It's not the...
All the parties.
All of us, I believe sincerely. And I was part of an adjudication process to duplicate the register we have. We had a long list of names that had appeared in the register more than once.
We even saw it at the Supreme Court where they were named.
No, aside, beyond that, this year, sorry, in 2014, getting to the latter part, multiple names in the register. Some.
But per the system that the EC has, they strike them out logically.
You see, the EC cannot automatically go in.
It's the system. The system.
Yeah, absolutely. The system picked them up, and they were to adjudicate on them to actually establish those who had the intent of double registering. Because you know why? It is an offense, punishable by law, a criminal offense, to double register.
Okay, come on.
My brother makes the argument that the law does not take retrospect or retroactive effect. First of all, the case that Evans Nimaku and Abu Ramadan or so went to the Supreme Court with was not for a law to be made or a new law to be made. It is when a new law is made that at the end of the day, you say that, yes, what happened yesterday is not affected. What happened was that the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana clearly mandates the Electoral Commission to come out with laws like he rightly said. Okay, per Article 51, all right, which regulations will guide our elections and all that. That gave birth to CI 72. Now, there in the CI 72, we are told clearly that yes, indeed, NHIS card may be used or could be used for registration. We agree, it's okay. Then we said that no, in the spirit of the Constitution, NHIS is going to be problematic because it cannot determine, or that alone cannot determine, whether or not someone is a true Ghanaian registrant. Then they got to court, granted. Then they got to court and said, look, per Article 42.
Then the court upheld.
Just a minute. The court upheld their argument. In that case, it was interpretation that the court needed to give. And having given interpretation, what you were doing, which was wrong, you are told not to do it. And if indeed you did it, and going forward, it may affect the future of this particular, country in terms of our democratic, dispensation and all that. Then, yesterday, what you did, that was wrong. Per the interpretation that they gave, of course, affects all that you did yesterday as well. If it's a new law, you see, there's an argument there. I have had cause when this matter was raised somewhere in caucus. I argued like my brother. I said, look, this retroactive principle or retrospective principle is not going to inure to our benefit if we raise this. Of course, it's not to say they don't make mistakes. They are pundits in law.
So what do you want to do? You want to go to court?
The point is that we are calling, once the NHIS was used to register many, which was not supposed to be the case, just because somebody says that there was a law in place or there's a law in place which was a bad laws don't make laws in the first place. Bad laws never make laws, no matter what happened. It could be yesterday, it could be today, it could be tomorrow. Bad laws never make laws. That's the point. So to argue that retroactively we can't go back to look at it, I disagree respectfully with my brother to say that, look, it was an interpretation that they went to seek, and they got that interpretation, which interpretation tells us that clearly what happened yesterday was wrong, and therefore whatever that is there, that the action or inaction of that person affects it, of course it remains faulty. And if it's faulty,
so
then
in your argument, in order to activate that retrospection, compiling a new register is the way to go.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That is our argument. And we have, you see,
can they go to court, Governor?
I'm surprised. I'm surprised at his line of argument.
No,
please, I keep quiet when you are talking. Let me have my way. The truth is this: what is law is what is pronounced from the lips of the judge.
No, interpretation is different from what is law. Anyway, but don't worry, just go ahead. Go ahead.
Judges make law by their pronouncements. It is what they say is the law that we work with as the law.
Good.
And that is why we go to judges to settle matters of disputes when we hold various sides of the law. Now, when the judges have made their pronouncements, the pronouncement is to the effect of what they have said. I am surprised, and in any case, he's neither of the applicants, Abu Ramadan nor Nimakun Evans, why they didn't seek as a relief in their application of interpretation
when you
that
register.
On the basis of that, the Supreme Court should pronounce the register
null and void,
non-existent, or if you like, bogus and unlawful. Why they didn't? And you'll be surprised. And I can believe the judges will never grant that. Because you see, and that's why I'm saying that in discussing this subject, we ought to be very careful.
We are.
You understand?
You made an argument earlier. You're saying that the political parties, they form the basis of the dispensation or the practice of democracy. Now, in all this that we're saying, political parties and the consensus that they build tend to create the opinion and the agreement for them to move forward in respect of whatever regulations, laws, and norms that they have to respect.
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, in going forward, do you think all the parties have the consensus that there's a problem with the register?
I believe so.
Okay. So all the parties then don't have the consensus that there should be re-registration?
No, as for registration, it happens.
Or a compilation of a new register?
I think that it is a usage of words and terminologies that we differ on. Every party, and I say this because I represent my party at least from, I should say 2010, on election matters. I have been representing my party at the Electoral Commission. There is no single party that has come to say that the electoral register that we have is foolproof and has nothing, and we should go with it at all times anyhow. That's how come we always meet and discuss how to resolve the issues of minors registering. And you know what? The issue about minors registering, there is evidence to that, and it exists in our records, come about in the so-called strongholds of the NDC and the MPP.
So your fear is...
Okay?
Your fear is... Come now.
Yes.
So your fear is...
Yes.
Once the MPP is calling for a new register, if it's open, we'll still have the same issues being raised. Perhaps double registration, and perhaps also staffing of the register with names, depending on which area that the party has a stronghold.
I'm not saying it as you have put it. What I'm saying is that the challenges that we have with respect to our register have existed with us for a long time. And that is why, I mean, Dr. Freja has been making this point. The issue about elections is vigilance. Everyone wants to take advantage of the other. That is the whole concept of democracy. Get the numbers. So you get the opportunity, you want to take the numbers and be declared the winner.
But you have to do that. You have to do it lawfully.
Now that is what all of us, the collective interest should be, to stop anyone from attempting to take advantage of all of us. And to do that is to make sure that strictly the laws that we put in place are good laws.
And are respected.
And the good laws are adhered to strictly, to the letter. Okay? To do that does not rest with only the commission. As political parties, we have a greater stake in doing that. Part of it is from the registration stage, to the exhibition level, where we have to have the Electoral Commission to clear the register of all manner of infirmities. And then 3, when the final register is brought, to make sure that at least we are all at rest and at peace with that. I am not saying that there are no challenges.
All right.
But there are. We should only speak to them based on what there is,
but
not based on conjecture and speculation.
I'm not too sure. Like I said earlier,
conjecture and speculation.
Absolutely.
Because the argument, I asked you whether the scenario you raise about Norton should always be a scenario that should be used in justifying why the register is perceived to be bloated.
I had an opportunity to have a glance at a document, okay, and
compiled by you.
Wait a minute, no.
I mean the party.
Compiled by an expert in election, not by the party. Anyway, regarding register or regarding the register of Ghana, as so to speak.
You mean an independent work?
Absolutely, independent work. And when you look at it, region by region, we are giving clearly why the writer thinks, okay, or poses that, yes, our electoral register is problematic or is bloated.
Are you saying that the FPP is basing the argument on an independent work?
We're not. I'm sitting here as, of course, a contributor to the show. So my views may be expressed and they are opinionated, of course, and maybe remains my views, as it were. I'm not making a party position or party policy here, not at all. Yes, I can support party policies, but for now, I'm speaking as Kamaldeen in a way.
Definitely.
Now, when you look at it, I got convinced, the latter side, even though I did not delve into or go deeper into the document, which I'm still on anyway, and trying to convince myself that yes, indeed, this writer's position that the register is problematic is clear. I'm happy my brother Bonfair alludes to the fact that yes, there are some challenges and some amount of cleansing need to be done. Now, in cleaning a register, not entirely getting a new register anyway, but so long as we have enormous or huge problems, then what would rather be better for us is to get money and get a new register, as it were. That is why we are arguing that yes, indeed, we have problems with the register. We have challenges, as he has rightly put it. Let's going forward to get this electoral reforms, which is proposed by the Supreme Court, proposed by our judges, proposed by UN Secretary General, former UN Secretary General, and all that, and our parties and all that. Even most of us, most of the parties
has no
jurisdiction.
No, he's not. He didn't. He didn't submit anything to the reforms that has been submitted. That were
he's not submitted.
These are just
Kofi Annan made a statement.
Those are pronouncements.
He made a comment. He said, "Look,
and
I'm not
because he's a public opinionated person,
please get me." He gave his opinion. He says, "Look, with what
and you think we should respect it because of his
at the presidential petition, the aftermath of it, he is proposing that yes, indeed, if we go in for better electoral reforms going forward, it will help Ghana."
And one of the reforms you are proposing is that we have a new register.
And I am proposing, or we are proposing that yes, it's better.
That one is not your view. This one is a party view. That we want a new
it's
register.
It's a party view, of course. That I agree. But then, with some of the
let's close this now.
Of course,
there's one thing I want us to discuss before we close the show. Does Mr. Kofi Potofi and the NDC not realize that they are belligerent, blah 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 blah? Or we'll talk about that. But